struggling since the win last year and gone through a lot of changes, and we'll see how the draft does shake out here. Chiefs must be feeling great after that win. They're on our blue side here for this best of one. Avant over on the red though, and Italy actually is the first ban there, and Avant Garde immediately banned Callisto.
Yeah, Chelby did pick up the Italy. Didn't get them a victory, I don't think, in their game, but is a champion that I could see him really wanting to default to. He loves carry potential out of the jungle, and Italy, if she can get ahead, of course, this is 5.3. She's been toned down a little bit. She's not able to power jungle the camps as fast as she could before, but has that potential. I'm so excited to see Chelby's play this series just because he's now got a very expected and kind of a known quantity in the top lane. He knows exactly what to expect out of Porky. They have great synergy, so it's going to be a case of Chelby. He doesn't have to worry about a sub. He doesn't have to worry about play calling not going through because there's a lot more known quantities about top lane, so maybe that can open him up to some of the plays that catapulted them towards that championship last year.
Yeah, and they might want to just look towards the other side of the map here, as Xerath will get banned there by Chiefs. Kind of an interesting third ban there, actually, sort of targeting out Kenzie a little bit there, with Cassidon being banned, also and Lysandra, so a lot of mages getting taken up. But you're right, if Porky is just the same very consistent player that we see from him in the top lane, Sion actually the last ban, again, respect there to Swiper, but maybe Chelby goes down the bottom, because Missouri has been struggling a little to get into this new team that he's playing.
I mean, the tank play from Swiper's definitely been his standby as well. We've seen the Sion bans twice, maybe even 3 times in a row now, respecting that unkillable top laner. That's been the flavor of his plays, so probably can expect very comparable team fighting and play out of Porky and Swiper, and it's going to be on the carries actually to get through those walls as Swiper shows off one of his favorites, that King Tryndamere.
Yeah, he's just flashing the Tryndamere for now, but instead we'll pick the Jarvan over probably for Spooks there in the jungle, so a solid first pick there for Chiefs. And Avant, we've seen some hit or miss drafting, I think I would say, from the team, but they're back again, consistent roster. Let's see what they can get done.
One thing that I like about Spooks, he's very streaky. First week, he loved that Lee Sin, locked in every opportunity. Second week, mixed it up a little bit. Third week, with his amazing Rek'Sai performance, I thought, all right, it must be the Rek'Sai that he's really doubling in on. Rek'Sai's gone through the picks and bans. It was banned in Game 1, isn't banned in Game 2, but he's back on Jarvan duty again.
Yeah, that's interesting because that is a Chelby champion as well. We've seen him play that champion quite well, actually, and I believe their last outing. So Avant looking good here, potentially got 2 picks to go through now as well, 20 seconds left. And I'll see what they want to go for. Nothing super, painfully obviously sticking out here. So Avant got plenty of options.
Yeah, the Callista's banned away, so you don't necessarily have to be that worried about the Vi. Of course, opens up a bit of hypercarry potential if you take the Morgana. Interesting to take the Morgana and Sivir at the same time. It doubles down on the shields for sure, but it's not the Sivir Annie that we might expect from the bottom lane.
No, and it is going to be those lock-ins there. I mean, not necessarily a completed bottom lane as well.
Worth saying, yes.
Yeah, the flex pick Morgana is now a reality. So Morgana, Sivir there for Avant Garde, and Chiefs going to pick away their next 2. See what they want to go with as well. Wouldn't be too surprised. Actually, no, I would be surprised. He ready to return to Corki was what I was going to say.
I don't think the Corki's the one you want to opt into. He can do fine in the lane against Sivir, but Sivir just has a kit that naturally deals with Corki very well in lane. Of course, you pick Corki for strong laning and then just a massive power spike with Trinity Force. So if you cancel out one of those, might want to go somewhere else. Might even be the Jinx. He doesn't always want to pull it out, but his Jinx is very good.
Yeah, it's funny. Reddy almost always seems to want to play proactive champions. He likes getting ahead in his lane. Really, playing consistently in the early game, getting ahead if he can with his aggressive support Rosie and sort of carrying through there. But we've definitely seen him play some different champions here. And those are some lock-ins there for the Chiefs. They are going to give the John over to Rosie, but LeBlanc just gets snapped up by Swiffer.
So does Kenzie take the Morgana mid? We've seen Swiffer deal so well with the Morgana. I mean, in fact, the OPL has not been a happy place for lane Morganas. First, we've seen Swiffer pull out the Twisted Fate and really dominate a Morgana in mid lane. And then last week, actually, in the first game of round 3, we saw the Hecarim against Morgana in top lane. Perfection outscaling that Morgana. So lane Morgana hasn't gone that well. It's a decent matchup against LeBlanc. You're basically eating a lot of harass and just counter pushing. There is some potential there, but I don't know if they want to go for that.
We'll have to see here as well. Avant Garde got plenty of time now as well. And actually going to flash the Mundo there for Avant. Would make sense with Porky's tank top lane tendencies, but plenty of time for Avant to try and pick their 3rd and 4th picks.
Yeah, blind pick Mundo would also be an element of risk if you pick that up. And look, they've gone for the Vi. It makes sense why they picked the Morgana earlier. Now you just don't have an excellent option to deal with the Assault and Battery. Not necessarily the hyper carry to synergize it with, but they've still potentially got the mid to choose. Maybe they can go for someone that positions very aggressively and take advantage of that Black Shield away from the AD carry.
Yeah, Porky going to go back to the old stand that we thought he might do. It is Maokai there in the top lane for Porky, and Vi going there through for Chelby. So, as you mentioned, lots of cards already shown. Actually going to last pick Kensty's champion, it seems like here, unless he does want to go in for the Morgana matchup. So the Chiefs have a lot of information. We'll see what they want to do to round out their draft.
So I've been consulting Kensty's solo queue, and there's some interesting picks he has specifically against LeBlanc. There's no guarantee that will come out in competitive, but I'm going to be super excited to see what he goes to deal with this LeBlanc. He's got so many aggressive options with the Black Shield available here, because of course Sivir doesn't need it as much with the Spell Shield. She does have defensive options already, so I want to see them go for a real hyper carry mid laner. No guarantee they will, but Chiefs, they're definitely taking their time to consider these last two picks.
Yeah, we'll see here. Chiefs got plenty of time, and oh my god, they do it. It is the Jinx for Raid here, but the cannon is back in the top lane.
I got everything I wanted, Pastry Time. I wanted to see that Jinx come back. It was an excellent pick in this comp, but the cannon, so exciting. Kensty going for a Swiffer champion. Champion's already played. He's considering the TF. This is what I want to see. He's played twice in his match history Vladimir as a counter pick to that LeBlanc. I want to see him break it out. It's be super exciting to me to see how that matchup works.
Well, we'll have to see here, of course. Kensty at least going to consider it here, or at least make us and the Chiefs think that he's considering it. The Chiefs, though, all hands on the table here, and Swiper Cannon here up against the Malco almost feels like a classic matchup in the top lane.
It definitely is. It's the Cannon versus Maokai. So Cannon's going to be doing all that free hitting. Theoretically, Maokai will get to a position where he'll be able to shrug off that Cannon damage, but Cannon will have a lot of lane control early, even with all the wave clear that Maokai has.
And you get your wish, Bubba Smithy. It is the Vladimir. Picked up last there, Avant Garde. Kensty, mid-lane Vladimir.
I'm so excited, because I just thought, I'm doing my research. I'll see what Kensty's up to. 2 Vladimir games. What's he doing? Both games against that LeBlanc. Both games doing so well. It's a risk to bring it into competitive, but he's going to go for it.
And, maybe break down the matchup a little. What can we expect here in the Vladimir LeBlanc mid lane, Papa Smithy?
I mean, there's a lot of sustain coming out from Vladimir. It's an awkward matchup, just because if you hit the chains, I don't know if you can negate them with the pull. I don't think you can. I think it still goes through a bit like Fiddle's Drain, so it'll be interesting to see how, but he's obviously confident on it. He's picked it in competitive. He's had success in solo queue at the top of solo queue, so he knows something we don't.
And you know what? After this draft, I couldn't be more happier to ask you this question. We would love to know on Twitter, who do you think's going to win this game after some crazy 5.3 drafting? Use the hashtag CHF win for the Chiefs or AV win for Avant. And curious to see what the results are going to be, because that's a very hard one to call.
Yeah, it's definitely not the meta picks that we're seeing across. Seeing the Vladimir come in. Cannon's seeing a bit of a resurgence, specifically Freddy on SK. Very known for that champion. Often we see it against Gnar just because they're almost the same champion in laning phase, and both of them have their power play and space control in team fights with that ultimate, does the Cannon. Cannon's buff in 5.3 is pretty significant. The big change is that when he's using that ultimate, everyone inside the AoE takes the W damage as well, so it does confirm on everyone. You don't have to get bolts down. So very early, I believe at levels 1 and 2, the ult doesn't have enough bolts to apply to everyone, so you don't always get that W damage. You don't always proc that ultimate on everyone, but at that first team fight, Cannon's just moving higher and higher tier in terms of early dragon fights, because the moment you have 6, now you have a team fight ult that's almost as powerful as, for example, the Equalizer from Rumble. So another no mana, strong top laner with dragon control. So we're going to see plenty of Cannon.
Yeah, and Swiper, of course, who's looked up, maybe for a long time, to a very famous Korean top laner in Flame. Loves to 1v1 people, and of course, Cannon was a big Flame champion back in the day. So Swiper could be returning back to some really solid 1v1, almost carry-esque roots here with this pick.
I think this is going to be Swiper's first game this season where he has less than 3,000 health. That's my prediction, is that probably not going to be able to build much health outside of, say, the Rylai's, which is an excellent item. The Zhonya is probably going to be picked up. Going to be a bit more AP focused. So definitely finally the carry pants on for Swiper. It's not the Tryndamere that he showed us with his first. Maybe one day. But the Cannon, it's more carry flavor than we've come to expect from that Chiefs top laner.
Yeah, and a nice way to sort of protect for their big Jinx as well. You've got a lot of good area control between the John and Cannon, so I like a lot of the AoE teamfight synergy there. And let's move to the mid lane for a second here, Papa Smithy, because as you mentioned it, Kenzie is going to bring out the counter pick of Vlad here against LeBlanc. And to answer your first question, tethers will work through Sanguine Pool, so you can dodge the snare part, but you cannot fully dodge the chain. It won't run off you when you hit the W.
I believe you take the damage as well, even if it's coming through. We're going to have to do a bit of theory craft. We're going to have to watch for it. Don't see too much competitive Vladimir, especially in the mid lane. That feels like a Season 2 kind of meta. He definitely fell away. Very popular in Season 1 before a lot of changes. When he picks up that Hextech Revolver, he can actually stand up to a lot of LeBlanc's harass, so can stay high health, and he is a hyper carry. Vladimir with the Black Shield, and of course, probably going to pick up Ozonia's, probably going to be able to use that pool effectively, can do so much consistent damage in a team fight. Much more than most mid picks, because LeBlanc all about the burst, Vladimir all about that consistent AoE damage. So it's just so exciting to see actually pick it up. And the potential is so high for this Vladimir.
And you have to love as well, if you're going to take maybe a lower damage AD carry like Sivir into the bottom lane, pick up a hyper carry in the mid lane. We see Immunity do it all the time. They've got their Swain comp that they love to play here as well. Vladimir going to make up a lot of that damage moving in towards the late game. And there's no better way to enable a hyper carry than with Sivir or Morgana Black Shield.
Well, that's why I had one request. It was get damage from that mid lane. Go for the hyper carry. And Vladimir, as you say, with the Black Shield, with all the speed, it's not Swain, but it's just as much AoE damage, absolutely. And you can get just as tanky with that, of course, health double dipping with your passive.
Yeah, some great synergy overall there on the Avant side comp as well. But Chiefs, again, have a very good looking comp here as well. Very radius-centric, I want to say. I mean, we talk about Swiper. He's definitely going to look to put the early and mid-game pressure on here. But as far as, winning big team fights and once they get ahead, staying ahead, that's kind of on Radius late-game jinx here.
One of the reasons why Cannon was so popular is that in the mid to late, in the early to mid game, you do have carry potential. You can burst down people. You can get the doubles and the triples with that slicing maelstrom. But you control so much area late game that you might as well be a tank with CC, because you go in there, you pick up, say, a Rylai's, and then AoE stun into AoE slows is a lot of peeling CC. Cannon was always deceptively one of the best champions to peel for a hyper carry. That's why I called out the Jinx. It's excellent synergy, because you have a damage threat that also peels for you. Plenty of peel potential coming from Jarvan and Janna as well. And LeBlanc and Radia sitting at the back or in the middle of the fight, trading on all the stuns and consistent CCs, and hopefully getting picks.
I mean, that sounds like two very well drafted comps by this team. So credit there to both Avant and Chiefs for some strong drafting. But I mean, if you look at these comps, is there a particular power points that we should be looking at?
I mean, whenever you talk about a LeBlanc, specifically LeBlanc Jarvan in this case, you talk about can they take over the mid game? Can they roam and really get the assassinations and take over the other lanes? We saw some success for Chiefs in the last game. It was a Zed, so it wasn't a LeBlanc, not as much CC in the transitions, but they moved between lanes very well, and that's what we want to see from LeBlanc again. And in the late game, it's going to be about Vlad and the consistent AoE damage you can put down. So I'd say, as is almost always the case with the Chiefs, they've got the proactive advantage. They're the ones that can get it done in the mid game. But they kind of faltered with that last game, so they're going to have to double down and really be proactive, because Vlad's late game, it's almost uncharted here on patch 5.3.
Well, we'll have to see if the Chiefs going to look to go 6-0, a perfect record they can try and complete here for 3 straight weeks of the OPL and Avant. Off to a rough start there to begin their OPL journey, but looking good so far. Last game was a win. They're going to see if they can pick up a big one here against the currently still undefeated Chiefs.
And the big curveball with the Vladimir pickup, returning to a very old item build as well with the boot style. It gives him extra potions. You can go boots, 4 potions, but it's not the Doran shield I might have expected. Of course, Vladimir double dips with the health scan, so we've got a bit of AP from the Doran shield. The single target spells will be a lot of the harass coming out of the LeBlanc, so you would also negate some damage coming out of that Q. But just going for that more utility-focused build and hoping that he can avoid the AoE damage coming out from the distortion, just with that extra early move speed.
Yeah, very cute stuff there by Swiffer as well. Taking the early distortion level 1, gets a very good ward on the Gromp, actually, just in time for that distortion timer to keep him back over to safety. So did spot Junie out, and good bit of extra vision there from Chiefs. Very cute stuff there by Swiffer.
You're just going to have extra information than will be expected from Avant. When we see these 5-man roams, you kind of know everywhere in the jungle they're going to be dropping a ward. The lane ward, the 3 aggressive wards. Using the distortion to get that early ward down, it's just an unexpected ward, so it should give them a surprising amount of information on Shelby's movements.
Yeah, and Shelby is going to start, it looks like, Gromp into blue, so we've got good vision here. The Chiefs actually going to move in early onto the lane, and of course Maz and Junie going to help out with the Gromp here. So Shelby going to start that one off, and Chiefs are actually going to get a bit of an early head start in that lane.
A head start with vision as well, so that's very, very significant. Kennen versus Maokai is going to be a tank fight up top. But it's the mid lane I really want to talk about. I really want to see the early trading. You think Vladimir's going to play pretty safe in the early levels, but as we watch bottom, there's some fights going on across the road. As Kensti, he's hanging back. He knows that level 1's definitely not his forte as Vladimir.
No, not at all. And the health potion's going to be quite handy. I think that's actually 4 health pots that he might have there as well. So has a lot of sustain for Swiffer to kind of get through. Of course, Crystal and Flask fairly common against these poke-heavy champions, but Vladimir doesn't need the mana, so they're going to take straight health pots instead.
It's interesting to see him go for the Doran ring start against Vladimir. I feel like this matchup's similar to the Cassidy-LeBlanc matchup, where if you opt for the Doran Ring, you can actually lose out in trades. You don't have that extra sustain coming out from the Flask, so it's a very aggressive option. I don't know how much practice Swiffer would have in this matchup. Even as LeBlanc's his most played champion in solo queue, I would expect we don't see too much mid lane Vladimir, so there's going to be some unknowns from Swiffer's perspective at least. And Kensti, he's going for something different. I can see the potential, but getting it against Chief Swiffer, one of the most respected mid laners in Oceania, it's going to be difficult.
Well, we'll have to see how that does work out. It's top lane now as well. You had no Dorans actually for Porky. You opted in for Crystal and Flask instead as well. And Swiper does have the Doran's Blade, so going to go back to some of that early game pressure that Cannon can exert over especially melee top laners. But Porky right now, very even in CS.
Yeah, almost always the Doran Ring is the start for Maokai. I do like moving towards the Flask just because, again, you know how many auto attacks you're going to eat from that Chipmunk. He's going to confirm his W, get it on you, get some harass. So he's just respecting, probably remembering some bad old days of when he had to play against Cannon tops and just opting for the sustain.
Yeah, I like the pick from Swiper as well. We talk about Porky being a fairly consistent carry player. Tank player, I mean. Swiper, you know, he's got a very deep champion pool. He's always got his finger on the pulse when it comes to which champions are sort of coming up in the top side. And Cannon's a great pick here against the Porky Malco, which they probably expected.
Yeah, he's definitely the sort of player that the moment the patch notes come in, he's asking, hey, can I now play this top? And Cannon's definitely one that jumps straight to the forefront of many players. Might even see the mid cannon, but in the top lane, he still has that excellent laning phase he's always had. Still so escapable with the lightning rush. And yep, Cannon coming into the meta, you best believe the first person to pick him up in competitive, at least in the OPL, will be Swiper.
It is indeed here. Swiffer going to get aggressive. Good dodge of the E there by Kensti using the Sanguine pull, but Swiffer able to get some good aggression down. Kensti, to his credit, keeping very competitive in CS, but Swiffer is really just trying to keep Vladimir down as long as he possibly can. Because once Vlad does get those levels in, things start to really tip in his favor.
Vlad is actually going very interesting rune page. I haven't really put my finger on it, but he's running no armor or magic resist against a LeBlanc in lane. That would have been the death knell a few patches ago, but I think he's confident on this matchup. We know he's practiced on it, and he's trying to do his best.
Yeah, Spooks does get spotted there as well. It's actually on top of a Trinket Ward there by Porky, so we'll back off from his pressure in towards the top side and go back to farming. So Chelby actually has a decent experience lead right now on that Vi, and that's very important. Vi really wants that level 6.
Level 6 opens up so many options for Chelby. Of course, is a decent damage ganker in early levels if you hit that Vault Breaker, but you really need to hit that ability to have any pressure pre-6.
And Rosie has to be careful. Actually wandering off to Ward here could be very dangerous here. So Kensti getting low against LeBlanc as well, but Shelby's really going to commit to this gank in towards the bottom side of the map. No, actually gives up instead. Rosie was so far out of position, but Avant just had no vision near the dragon. Yeah,
worth knowing the CS advantage is already growing for Radio in the bottom lane. Very interesting lane matchup is the Jinx versus Sivir matchup. The mechanics and the zoning in that lane is very interesting, just because when you rocket auto a Sivir, she has to stand in the minion wave to get in within 500 range, so she actually eats a lot of extra harass. Jinx doesn't win a lot of lane matchups, but is actually very favorable in trades against the Sivir.
Yeah, and Swiffer here returning to the mid now as well. I love what he's been doing with the wave. He's actually been freezing in the mid lane, which is no easy task, but keeping Kensti down on CS, because he knows the longer he spends denying Kensti, the harder the lane gets for Vladimir.
Kensti's doing something a little cute with the boots pickup. He's actually walking over to the wolf camp, using one Q to get a bit of sustain, then walking back to mid when he's being denied. So he's actually keeping his sustain up surprisingly high. Of course, he's eaten a lot of harass as expected with the rune setup he's got. No defensive runes whatsoever. Already blown through the 4 potions. But just little things like that. Just using the boots to pick up some sustain in other lanes is very smart.
Yeah, bottom side could be problems here as well. Dive there coming in for Spooks, and Jinx gets first blood. Porky TP's in, but it's way too late, and Spooks might go down here. The sapling going to go in. Spooks going to get slowed. No, the sapling going to chase after him. Good slow just missing there for Rady, but he EQ's out, and Porky cannot chase.
Porky did a very cute thing. He actually used the Twisted Advance over the Chompers. He couldn't walk all the way around them. It would have taken too much time, but because you're untargetable during that, using the Twisted Advantage to a minion was smart, but could not pick up the kill despite using both summoners. A lot committed for no result.
Yeah, and Spooks just bought enough time, able to EQ out on the job, and a great dive for that kill as well. Kensti going to get aggressed on now as well. Shelby goes in, but Swiffer goes back in, flashes forward, the Ignite is down, and Vladimir will go down. Swiffer gets a kill 1v2.
Amazing outplay from Swiffer. It's one thing to beat a solo queue LeBlanc, it's another thing to use the top LeBlanc in OCE. Wonderful play on that trade. Chelby had to walk away. There was nothing he could do.
Yeah, not even level 6, which is actually quite good against LeBlanc. Now, Junie could be in trouble here. Spook's going to look to chase him, but a little low on mana and health there. Swiffer, so he's going to clean out his wave, and that'll be enough. In fact, down the bottom, Junie might get caught out here. The bottom lane getting caught out. Maz will use the spell shield. Good moves there, but Junie now going to go in trouble there. Good knock-up. Just missing, actually. I think wanted both, but couldn't get either. But Junie is going to get chasing with the rockets, and Rosie going to get the kill. He has Ignite on his John, and Mazui going to get slowed down here, and Radiant just going to go in.
Yeah, Junie gave up his life to keep Mazui alive, but actually had to use his flash, went too aggressive, used both summoners. In the mid lane, though, Swiffer gets super low, but it looks like the Chiefs will get an unanswered dragon.
Yeah, Swiffer very greedy, staying for maximum CS, but he's going to go back with a mountain of gold to spend. The first dragon will go to Chiefs as well. Things looking very good so far in the first 8 minutes.
You have to say the Vladimir counter pick not working out. Just too aggressive, I think, in the runes. We can see Spooks being chased down, but without the ultimate available from Kensti and Chelby not in range, nothing they can do to punish them.
Yeah, Jarvan going to get out again, and Swiffer, maybe not as much gold as he would like. It is only 8.5 minutes in, so almost done with his Morello Nomacon's actually quite impressive. And Haystack Revolver now done for Kensti. Lane going to get a little bit better.
I mean, even with the jungle pressure coming out from Chelby, being in his lane multiple times, he's 700 gold up with that kill in the 1v2. In the top lane, Swiper, of course, it's not the Hextech Revolver cannons anymore. That's definitely fallen out of the meta. So it doesn't have that much sustain. There's actually a significant sustain advantage for Porky in this matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, Swiper just kind of has to use the early aggression, poke him out with the Doran's play. Got an Arm Guard now as well, so going to look for maybe a quick Zhonya's here. But, you know, Swiper, this pick doesn't really bully around people in the top lane like it used to. More for team fights at this point.
I mean, especially when you've doubled down on sustain with the Catalyst as well. Going to have that proc every level. Realistically, not going to be able to harass Porky out of lane anymore, at least.
Yeah, and Swiper actually a little down on CS, so he's able to get a massive lead, but just fine with what's happening now. Going to EW away the minions Q. The last one's there as well. And Swiper, very competitive there on the top side, but they're both going to scale a bit of their first major item. It looks like the Rotovators for Porky, and presumably the Zon is up for Swiper.
Kensti's already farming the walls, so he's going to start moving into the other camps, a bit like a Mordekaiser might once they finish their spell vamp item. You can see very smart in holding the wave in mid. Only now when blue buff comes up does Swiffer push out the mid wave. We can see it on the minimap. The CS advantage in mid lane, it's already 30 CS advantage for the Swiffer.
Really smart stuff there, and Swiper going to clean up more minions. Swiffer will return now with his blue buff, and Relanonomicon pretty good against the Vladimir. Fairly good aggressive AP item anyway, but going to kind of get extra value there against Kensti's Vlad.
Yeah, we always expect the aggressive itemization out of a LeBlanc. You'd expect her to be playing in the front. No Athene's always going to be the Merlonomicon for that extra burst, but you're right, the double dipping with the Grievous Wounds passive on that Merlonomicon, going to feel so great.
And Kensti actually never mind. Swiper going to pop the ulti in the top. Shelby's here, so is Spooks. The knockup comes in. The category that might just be enough damage, but Shelby gets the first kill. Gonna make it 2. And a very good counter game. LeBlanc, maybe a little too late. Swiffer going to get the first kill. Goes back away from Shelby. And a good roam to make it 2 for 1.
Yeah, but they had to use so many resources to get just a uneven trade there. So while Swiffer gets bigger, and Swiffer will be the one they're looking to rely on in the mid game as Vladimir itemizes up, slowly reaches his late game carry potential. A lot now rests on this mid lane Swiffer.
Yeah, and after that trade, a great setup there by Shelby for the counter game. Kensti has to be careful, gets locked up there and can't pull after that. Swiffer will take some tides of blood. Kensti is ramping up towards the magic level 9, but let's see that again.
So we'll see the replay. Swiper just goes for the solo kill. He knows that he has the reinforcements coming from Spooks, but Spooks is actually already fairly low health to begin with, and the sustain comes through from Porky. Gets, I believe, 2 healing procs out, manages to live, and then Swiffer comes in and gracefully accepts the 1 kill.
Yeah, I mean, he'll take it here, but Chiefs, off to a good start. About 1,000, 1,500 gold or so up, and things are starting to look good for them in the bottom lane. The insurance policy, I guess, of Radia's late game Jinx is off to a good start. BF sword now actually done, and just a flat pickaxe there from Mazui.
So Spooks was actually highlighted in the previous series. We look at the item. Spooks actually significantly behind this. Though he has the 3 assists, he has just the parts of a warrior against a completed warrior and a 10 CS advantage for Shelby. Vi does scale excellently with farm. She can balance damage and tankiness. She does so many things in a team fight so well. So it's a worry if Shelby can hold this advantage over Spooks.
Yeah, I mean, the Brutalizer actually for Spooks is very aggressive. So going to be great if you can hit a good spike there on the basically double Brutalizer once he gets the warrior done. But that's a different tune now for Spooks. Not going for a quick side turn, it seems like.
Well, it is worth noting that it doesn't have the first warrior. So that Brutalizer is probably going to build into the warrior. So it's probably the more natural item. But he's just behind in timings. Chelby's doing very well, but look at this. 3 men reacting to Chelby's aggression.
We'll have to see here as well. Spook's actually moving in. Looks like Blue Buff did actually get stolen away there. I think, no, not quite. Not up yet. Okay, it's just some wards getting put down there by the Chiefs, wanting to try and take it away. And Spook's going to get aggressive in towards the Vladimir. And Swiffer, a slight level advantage here as well. Looking very strong. 100 CS to 76 there by Kensti.
LeBlanc will always have a significant rotational advantage to Vladimir. It's not just the distortions, the fact that she has CC, that she scales so much faster in terms of damage. Kensi is just looking to farm. That's all he's really interested in. So he's just going to stay back, farm. He's a bit like a Nivea. He just wants to wave clear till he hits a certain item threshold. So in aggressive skirmishes, you're going to give it to LeBlanc and Jarvan any day of the week.
Yeah, and I mean, Swiffer has again been freezing the lane, able to apply good pressure. Maybe Distortion coming in. Swiffer again ignites him down, another outplay, and gets a solo kill now, 1v1.
Yeah, solo kill. First 1v2, then 1v1. The counter pick is not working for Kensti. The rune set, I have to say, just seems too aggressive. The health per level yellows, yep, I understand those. Excellent on Vladimir with all the scaling. But no magic resist against LeBlanc. He's paying the price. 2 solo kills.
He is there, and he does have his Will of the Ancients with Marilla Nomicon and the Sork Shoes done there. And the Chiefs continue to pick up wins across the rift. They're going to get the bottom turret now as well for their first of the game. In fact, the first of any team here. So the Jinx working out, the LeBlanc working out. You know, Swiper maybe a bit behind in the top lane, but he's happy. He's almost got his Zhonya's done, actually.
Yeah, 1,400 gold is the advantage for Radius, 1,600 gold for Swiffer. So even without the solo kills, opening up a massive advantage in CS in the bottom lane. After they got those early kills, they passed one on to Jinx. They got the pressure. I think even Rosie picked up one with his Ignite. Sivers had to put on the back foot all laning phase. And the moment the BF sword comes in for a Jinx, the laning phase, it's really a struggle for the Sivir.
Yeah, and it seems like the Chiefs are just committing to a lot of good aggression. They've got the first dragon, going to rotate in for the second. That's up in 5 seconds or so now, and Chiefs going to try and get aggressive here. Junie kind of forced out. Spooks is pretty scary. He's got a very initiation-heavy build, I want to say.
I mean, they're comfortably winning in mid and bot. You can tell that from the gold lead. But if you look at top, Swiper's spending all the gold he has, even though he's behind, he's spending it all on teamfight items. He's almost got a straight Zhonya's, not worried about any laning items whatsoever. No magic resist against Maokai, who does quite high base damages. So to have 2 lanes that are winning and then a person building for team fights, you cannot opt into any sort of mid-game skirmishes against the Chiefs.
Yeah, Avant, though, do trade that dragon for the turret, so the second dragon there for Chiefs going to be the first turret there for Avant. And Swiper very intelligently had the wards down, did just back away and didn't want to commit too hard. Going to push back this wave that's pushed into his turret and try and get towards that rank 2 ulti. Level 10 there for Swiper, and actually a blue buff still going to come through for Avant, so winning a little bit more on the top side.
It's smart for Chiefs to not try to contest this objective. A, they have no wards, and B, this is the only area of pressure that Avant have so far. The bottom and the mid have gone completely landslide in Chiefs' advantage, so it makes sense to try and get advantages towards Swiper. But Swiper, the big issue they have is 2 dragons are completed very early for the Chiefs. The third one will come when Swiper is really getting teamfight ready. Maybe Sorcerer's Shoes on top of his Zhonya's, and then it won't matter that he's undone in terms of items. As long as he's level 11, he will still have a massive impact in a fight.
Yeah, and I love this rotation as well from the Chiefs. Going to move the dual lane actually in towards the top and start pressuring some of those turrets. We see it all the time with the Jinx. In fact, Radiant doesn't just have Berserker Greaves for a bit of extra pushing pressure. He's got Infinity Edge done now as well.
Yeah, it's just so far ahead. There's 1,200 gold on Maz. We see he's just shopping. He's got the parts of Infinity Edge, no boots and no completed Infinity Edge. Huge item trough for the Sivir.
I like Spooks coming up here as well. Looks like they might have spotted Shelby also rotating in with Junie. So it's going to be 3v3 in towards the top side of the map. Swiffer getting some free time in that mid lane right now. 142 to 109 CS there. So Kensi is trying to find farm, but he's fallen so far behind. And the best news maybe for Chiefs is that Swipe is picking up free farm in the bottom lane now.
And Swiper's getting free farms and to get closer to the Zhonya's. It's still not a 3v3 in top that Avant want to go in. Even if they have the numbers advantage, not a lot of damage between the 3 members. And we've already seen the rotations happen, but Kensti is nowhere near the top lane. LeBlanc will be by far the first to react.
Yeah, and if Chiefs can get some deep wards in towards the red side jungle there for Avant, it's just going to be a field day for Swiffer's LeBlanc right now. It's already off to such a good start. 3-0 already on LeBlanc, with 2 of those being just mid lane outplays.
Yeah, absolutely. The outplays were definitely real. The counter pick has not been working for Kensti. But we see the engage in top.
They're going to go in. Good reset there from Rosie with the Monsoon, just keeping Shelby back there as well. Actually, Teleport going to move in. Swiper wants to maybe go aggressive, does complete it in the Chiefs. I think it is going to take some turret pressure here.
It's worth knowing one cute interaction is that Vladimir was actually one of the old counter picks to Cannon in lane. He's actually very much able to split push against the Cannon. So rotating him, he doesn't have the teleport. In mid lane though, Maz is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, seems like Swiffer might have found himself another target. He wants to try and pad that scoreline, but the Chiefs are going to continue pressuring in. Swiffer will get away there, but has to be careful. Just can't really push out. Chiefs control so much of the map, especially in the center, where they've already taken out that turret.
He had to use her ult, flash. Didn't have boots to escape. Has got the Infinity Edge completed now, but item timing significantly behind Radio.
And down the bottom, Kenzie is pushing, gets good damage done. Misspoke a tad earlier there as well. It's just the bottom turret the Chiefs got with the Jinx. Haven't quite been able to get the top despite all of the members they're throwing in, but it doesn't matter. Missouri almost died under his turret to this LeBlanc.
To some degree, I guess they're respecting the AoE wave clear coming out of the Tides of Blood for Kenzie. They don't want to try and brute force down this mid lane. There is a lot of wave clear between Vladimir, Sivir, and Maokai, so they're going for the off lane. They're trying to commit everyone's resources to top, knowing that Dragon's down, so I can understand that approach. It's very smart for Kenzie to be 1v1 in that cannon. I said that matchup does go in Vlad's advantage, but he hasn't doubled down on going for the split push, but he doesn't have Ghost Flash like Reaper did many days ago. He does have that aggressive Ignite, and it doesn't feel like he's ever going to get in real purchase out of that summoner.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I do like what Kenzie's doing with his build, though. He's got his Will of the Ancients for max favor, but actually going in for an Abyssal Scepter second here.
I mean, Abyssal Scepter makes a lot of sense. It is a double AP comp to some degree, if you count maybe Maokai and Morgana between them as like a completed magic damage carry. So there is a lot of latent magic damage coming through, and the base values from Kenzie and the consistent damage in a fight, he's going to get tanky enough that he should get good purchase out of that aura.
Yeah, so good stuff there, but still struggling there in the mid lane. 171 CS. So Swiffer has basically kept a consistent 30 to 40 CS lead there in that lane, and Raiders getting stronger as well, still mountains ahead of CS there. Swiffer actually missed that next distortion there, couldn't quite mimic over the wall, but will take the poke that he gets, and the Chiefs dragging up in 120, still in so much control. There's
still a lot of scaling on both teams. Although you give Vladimir the big advantage over LeBlanc in terms of scaling, you'd say pretty much the same thing in the Jinx vs. Sivir matchup, so Avant can't just drag this out to late. There's no big compositional advantage on either side. If anything, I might slightly hand it over to the Chiefs.
Yeah, Swiffer going to go ahead and get the blue buff there as well. Looks the Dragon's not up, so Spook's going to have the Smite Charge ready to go for when it does come back, and Swiffer does actually get caught by a Dark Binding, so will stop any aggression he was thinking about, but the Chiefs are starting to group together now. Swiper's got the Zhonya's, Jinx is looking happy, LeBlanc's happy there as well. The Chiefs can just start overpowering Avant now at this stage, despite only being 1,000 gold ahead.
Well, the Chiefs grouping with level 11 Cannon, and they're grouping against a split pusher who, A, does clear waves very fast, but has no teleport. There's no way for Kenzie to group. Kenzie realistically doesn't want to group, so grouping and trying to force out objectives is actually very smart adaptive play coming out of the Chiefs.
Yeah, so Swiper going to return to the top side. Doesn't quite have his teleport up, but should have enough time to get this minion wave pushing and then rotate in towards that dragon. 20 seconds now, the Chiefs are going to move in for their third dragon of the game, and despite only having one turret up, the Chiefs are going to start opening up more of the map.
Yeah, I mean, you can give away the first two dragons quite happily, especially if you're trading it for objectives. They haven't really been trading for objectives here, Avant. They are monopolizing the enemy blue buff, which is something, but they're going to have to focus on structures. Giving up the third one, though, that's when it starts to push a little bit too far.
Yeah, just all that movement speed. It's such a good stat here. I mean, pretty much everyone on Chiefs is going to benefit for it. We see that Avant have a Sivir in the comp, basically for just a lot of team-wide movement speed, and Dragon, that gives you a little mini passive Sivir ult.
Yeah, it's not, it's definitely not Sivir ult in terms of sheer amount of movement speed, but it's relative. It is something that will negate kind of the reason you pick up Sivir, which of course is that huge power spike from the Omni Hunt.
Swiffer going in there. Shelby actually might have found him. Ultimate going to go in, but he's going to carry him all the way under the tower. Shelby goes for a ride, and Radius says, thanks very much, I'll take the kill. Now Rosie going to get aggressive, splits them into three with the Monsoon after the flash. Rosie going to take a lot of damage. Swiper though, going to dive straight in onto Avant. Porky does get that kill. Junior going to get locked up though on Radio, just having a field day. Swiper gets that next kill. Kenzie diving in, getting aggressive. The Hemoblade not quite going to pop. Actually, the Zonies will save him. Swiffer gets Missouri for the rampage. The ace gets completed by Radio as Kenzie goes down, and a 5-for-1 whitewash by the Chiefs.
Whether it's the assault and battery or the Maokai W, both of those can get you in really awkward positions against people with the gap closers. That was the case with Swiffer. Straight under the turret and instantly dies. We watched this interaction. Assault and battery looks good to Swiffer at one moment, suddenly confirms death the next, and then you watch Swiper in the back lane. If we had seen the rest of that replay, using the ult very defensively at the start, and then once Jinx got every kill, moved forward, got the CCM more members. Wonderful team fighting from the Chiefs.
Yeah, Swiffer again, another 1v4 outplay, I think the one was. He's racking up the highlight reels at this point. See Spooks, they're going to back off now as well. Got his Sightstone done. He's again moving in towards what looks like an Aegis next. So still that same, big supportive jungler. You mentioned that Spook's kind of streaky, likes to, keep his play consistent. Is going to do so on the Jarvan here as well. But we want to talk about item timings right now. Phantom Dance a dump for Radiant, but Swift has just completed his death cap.
Yeah, with the death cap, the Sorceress who's been finished for a long time. It's all going to be on Chiefs doubling down on vision and getting the pinks up. We see they already have aggressive pinks. They're starting to be cancelled out by Avant. So credit on them for trying to get a bit of vision back, wrestle back as much vision as possible. But there's just going to be zones of this map where they're going to have to completely shy away from without, say, blue trinkets coming in from Missouri, because the instant kill potential coming out of Swiffer is massive.
Yeah, Junie getting chunked out there as well. So Missouri will just try and clear waves where he can. But Sivir, when you're behind, just feels not good, unfortunately. I mean, you can get the rest of your team in, that's fine, but even if you're, not getting in, helping your team in, you need to do some consistent damage. And when you're behind a carry like a Jinx, and especially when LeBlanc is always threatening to blow you up, the Chiefs, again, they just have so much control. Avant have basically been stuck in their lower third of the map for the last 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we can see the vision moving more and more forward from the Chiefs. They've got complete monopolization of Dragon Vision with 3 already in the pocket. And I completely agree with you. When you're Sivir and you're behind, all you can really do is hope that your ult sets up one of your carries that's ahead. But you look down this Avant lineup, the only person with really a semblance of being ahead is Chelby. And he's going to die instantly with the very aggressive Black Cleaver build. It sets up Sivir damage, but Sivir just doesn't have the items to really trade upon that very aggressive pickup from Chelby.
No, and the Chiefs do get a tier 2 turret in the bottom side there as well. So the Jinx is being so good here. Porky actually going to get locked in by a chain. Doesn't really have anywhere to go. Twisted Advance not quite early enough. He actually is going to get locked up. Shelby going to dive in there as well to Radiant. The Black Shield on him as well. And Radiant taking a big chunk of damage. Rosie's low as well. Shelby actually does get the solo kill, but Swiper in the back cleaning house with that ultimate. Swiffer going to dive back in there as well. And it's actually 2v3 right now, but Swiffer wants to go back in. Junie's still alive. It's 2v4. Just Swiffer left alive with no mana. And Avant are going to turn it around.
That's a big turnaround, but Chiefs were very poorly positioned. You saw that Chelby was able to engage onto Radia, did more burst than they expected. Swiffer gets the answering kill. He's still alive. And Kenzie thinks maybe I should back away.
Yeah, Swiffer actually has enough, a bit of mana back there as well. Going to dive in onto Kenzie, just do some damage. Kenzie, respectable damage of his own, though, does have the cooler moves and the Abyssal Dawn, so Swiffer is going to force his way back. And I thought Swiper had it with that massive cannon ulti.
It was massive, but Radia was dead at the point that he came through. That's the big issue, is that Radia is the one that's overtuned. His Phantom Dance Infinity Edge was finished at, 18, 19 minutes? Very, very over-farmed. And Kenzie's finally getting to the point where he can be a bit of a teamfight general. He's not quite Swain. He doesn't quite have the same flavor in team fights, but the ultimate onto Radia in combination with all the damage that Chelby's built surprisingly chunked out that Jinx.
Yeah, I mean, Shelby just melted that poor Jinx there as well. We talk about Vi being good against hyper carries, but Shelby is really committing to his plan. He knows he has to kill the Radia.
And that's why Chiefs need to commit to the peel. It wasn't present there, and the damage build from Shelby paid off big that fight.
That looks like Radia going to clear out some wards. So he's back to life. He got a Vamp Scepter now, so going to make his life a little bit easier in longer team fights, but can't afford to get jumped on like that by the Vi. Swiper as well got a need to see large rod for himself, so good damage coming out now as well from that cannon. And Rosie does actually have the talisman, so a little bit more aggression and initiation potential, but no Michaelis to try and keep the Jinx alive.
The second needless large rod I don't like as much on the cannon, just because you've got a Jinx, you've got a Fed LeBlanc, you don't really wanting for damage. The Rylai's for a bit of extra peel seems that much more important to me than doubling down on damage. We already saw that if Swiper's out of position and Jinx dies, doesn't really matter how many needless large rods he has. They're still going to lose a fight. So the extra peeling option, a bit more tankiness from the Rylai's, a bit more important. As Junie, 100 to 99.
Ulti comes in, Radia gets it, and you called it there. Radia gets the last 1%. Swiffer just so smooth on this champion.
Now, Swiffer's LeBlanc, it's his most played champion. He's wonderful on that champion. You can see that at least in laning phase, the Vladimir picks had nothing to answer Swiffer's LeBlanc, and they're basically letting Swiffer set the tone of this game, much like Faker might in another league. And they're paying for it.
Set he has 5-0-3 there on this champion. Void stuff on the way there as well. Then fourth turret's going to fall there as Chiefs will take the tier 2 in mid out. They've still got a turret in the top lane for Avant. Porky actually trapped in the top lane, but does have his teleport, so able to get to that next dragon in a moment's notice. But Chiefs going to take, I believe, their 4th straight dragon in a row now.
But you can see Avant's play call. You have to think they're considering the Baron answer. There's a lot of movement speed on the Chiefs. They're not quite the Sivir ultimate. I mean, Avant, they think about Baron. They give away the dragon for free. It's 4 dragons now. There's 6 minutes until really the pain starts for Avant.
I mean, there's already ridiculous damage coming out of Radia, Swiffer, and Swipe is doing respectable damage. That fifth Dragon's going to create some pretty insane situations here as well. And, you know, I like the gesture from Avant to look over at the Baron, but that's one of the nice things about the movement speed of the Dragon. I feel like underrated. You feel winning because you're taking control of the map and rotating. That buff just lets you rotate more and more.
I mean, it's that case. If you have that 5% move speed, even with Sivir to disengage, there's just no realistic window for Avant to pick up a fast Baron. Chelby building damage, of course, does very good damage to the Baron, but I mean, Mezoui's just picked up the answering Phantom Dance. He's very undertuned compared to Radio.
Yeah, almost a bloodthirster behind at this point. Radio actually does have his BF sword now. Still building up some gold. Got about 400 in the bank right now. So a little bit off, about 450, 500 gold off that BT. But looking strong on the Jinx. Going to go for a big 3-item power spike.
So Avant actually have teleport advantage, and Kennen is split pushing. But Kensti, you can see that he's playing for the late game. He's continuing to commit to the split push. He doesn't have teleport available. Kennen knows that if he gets a flank, they should ace Avant.
Swiffer going in. They're actually going to initiate onto Porky. The swiper who's going to go in as well. Spooks just dives in onto Mezui and Junie. And there's the chance coming through. Radiant free hitting from the back. Junie getting so low there. The Vi comes in, but that's a triple kill for Radiant. Chelby might make it the quadrant. No! Spooks takes it away. Kenzie going to flash in and try and be a hero. The Monsoon going to keep them safe. Radiant denied his Penta. LeBlanc gets the next kill. And a clean ace there from the Chiefs.
Just as I spoke about it, Swiper knew if he got the right engage, there was no way for Kenzie to react. It's not the Flash Ghost Vladimir. It's certainly not Teleport Vladimir. And the fight was over before he grouped, and an easy ace for the Chiefs.
Yeah, we talk about enabling the Jinx with the cannon. That might have been a picture-perfect example of just that.
It's just a beautiful team fight. Use the ult very early to try and get the first reset. It was delayed a bit, but definitely not enough time for Kenzie to group. And they take down Avant.
Yeah, they're going to get him. Let's see that fight again.
So we see that the fight beginning, Swiper's off to the side, and he goes for the flash engage. Kenstie's nowhere near the fight. You can see on the mini-map. The ult wants to snipe the backline to get a double kill. But I mean, it's just, at the end of the day, Swiffer's overtuned on the LeBlanc. Jinx is free hitting. Triple kill comes through, and Kensti, he tries to make something, but it was only going to be a trade kill at best.
Yeah, the fact that Rosie didn't even need to use the ultimate there in that fight, just because Chiefs completely dictated how that engage started, meant that no one was in trouble when Kensti went in. And credit, he had to try something, but the Chiefs so far ahead now, about 6,000 gold and counting, and Avant just having trouble now. This Jinx is absolutely massive. Pickaxe and the BT finish as well.
I mean, I can understand what Avant are going for. They want Kenzie to clear waves. They want to relieve pressure, and they thought, all right, unless Swiper flash engages, there's not that much engage on the Chief. We'll just stay away from the brushes, stay away from the LeBlanc picks, and we'll be okay. But it's just not realistic against Swiper. He had flash available. They didn't have the defensive walls to be able to see their flanks. And credit to Chiefs, they took advantage of a power spike and did it very well.
I mean, that fight started basically because Swiffer decided to chain Porky, of all people, the super tanky Maokai. He's got his Spirit Visage, he's kind of moving in towards Orandu and zooming with the Warden's Mail, plus the Ruby Crystal. His Rod of Ages is fully stacked up, and Swiffer just didn't care. He went in on LeBlanc knowing that, you know what, if we can catch you, I can't kill you maybe, but the rest of my team can.
And with item timings like he's hitting, you know, Death Cap, Morellonomicon, Void Staff. He's going to commit to the Blasting one to get even more AP. Porky's tanky, but with a bit of help, they can take down that tree, and then Avant's team kind of opens up and falls apart.
Yeah, 5-3 in turrets now as well there for Chiefs, just taking over the top side of the jungle now as well. Mizui has to be so careful. Poor Sivir behind the 8-1-4 Radio. Gold lead pretty insane. It's about 4,000 gold ahead for Radio there. And Swimmer's actually going to go back in. Just gets a good chunk of burst and almost kills the support player. Radio again moves in the ulti for an attempted snipe. Doesn't get it that time, but Chiefs now going to pressure the last tier 2 left for Avant.
Yeah, they have teleport available on Swiper, so he's pushing in the bottom lane. Avant, you have to remember, Chelby's gone basically full damage. He has a giant spell, but this is not a tanky Vi. It's basically a damage Vi. It can do a lot of damage if it gets on top of Radia, but if Swiper's grouped, you're never going to be able to get through without being stunned, and he can be focused down so fast. So much is on Porky to be the tanky frontline, and it's just, he's tanky, but no one can be tanky enough to deal with this LeBlanc.
No, and looks like Chiefs just going to go in onto the Baron now as well. Dragon back in a minute 20, so they should have time to do both buffs if they want to. And Avant really don't want to look for a fight here. Chiefs melt the Baron to pieces there with the Jinx, and they're going to have enough time with Impaled Recalls to shop and then take their 5th Dragon. And Avant, they're out of options. They have to defend now.
Yeah, you mentioned the 5th Dragon. It's 1 minute away. I don't see how Avant can contest it with all the item timings hit on Chiefs. And as you say, they have to go for the suicide engage almost, and I just don't know what they can get from it.
Well, 4-item Radiant done as well. The last booster just gets picked up after that last shot. Almost level 16 there for the Jinx as well. Mikhail's just finished there for Rosie, and he already has the captain in chance. So everything going the way the Chiefs wanted to. Even the death cap done for Swiper. Avant going to have the work cut out here around this team fight. Spooks, though, sitting on top of the ward, will sweep it out. And we'll see what they can get done. But Chiefs in 35 seconds, they're going to move in for their 5th dragon.
Yeah, 16 is pinged on Swiper as well. Although it's not the Rylai's for having a bit more CC earlier, once you hit 16, you have enough bolts to stun a whole team. So it's a bit kind of neck or neck in terms of which item is better. He's going to do more AoE damage. He's already got enough CC coming out from that ult. He's feeling great, and Avant, they're out of options.
Yeah, good consistent vision control there as well by Chiefs. Going to make sure they keep tabs on the area. In fact, just going to set up something a bit sneaky. Swiper doesn't have flash, but he's positioned for a potential flank over there as well. And instead, the Chiefs are actually on top of a ward, unfortunately. Swiper going to walk past it. Sweepers are available, so Chiefs going to have... going to be able to do something about it. But the Dragon's up. Chiefs try and bait them in. Avant not biting. They have vision of the Dragon, but that's 5 Dragons now for Chiefs.
Yeah, the 5th Dragon is taken. Baron is already up. They can group and try and force down Avant. Or Swiffer can go for a pick on Porky.
Porky gets half health there by LeBlanc, and the rest of the team going to go in. Spooks dives in on top of it. Swiper doing so much work in the backline with the ulti, and now Spooks going to rotate in as well. Kenzie actually does get the trade kill, but Swiper bought more than enough time there. Shelby gets knocked up. Rosie going in as well. Spooks looks for it, and Rady gets the next kill now. Jinx going to chase him. Mazui gets 3 shot there by the Jinx. That's another ace there by the Chiefs, and that's going to be game.
And you bait Swiffer into taking a LeBlanc with a counter pick at your own peril. 7-0-6 is Swiffer. Radiant 10-1 and 6. Both carries very, very happy to accept the matchups they got. And the Chiefs, very convincing winners.
Yeah, keep the dream alive as well. 6-0 in the first 3 weeks of the OPL. And that was in quite some style there as well by the Chiefs. I think you said it. Give Swiffer LeBlanc.
And pay for it. That's just a reality that he had the pocket pick. He'd practiced on it, but coming in with no resists against one of the best LeBlanc players in Oceania, it didn't work out.
Yeah, and maybe the bottom lane struggle is kind of continuing for AV as well. It's just not been the same. It is a very new bottom lane for them, pretty much completely changing from the team that won the regional final last year. Mazui still finding his feet against Randy, no less, who's still a very strong player.
I mean, Jinx versus Sivir, they let Jinx be picked up as a counter pick to the Sivir. They got the engage they wanted earlier. They got the snowball. It was, I believe, BF sword pickaxe against just a pickaxe. And there's not really much way back into that fight. And not really much way for Avant to get back into the game. We're going to jump to a replay just to see some of the struggles that Avant were having. You can see here, already a little bit of a gold lead at 27 minutes, but this fight really started to cap things off for the Chiefs. So we'll roll the tape. And Porky's tanky, but no one's really tanky against the overtuned Swiffer. And at this point, Swiper gets in. They get the AoE CC down. Vladimir hasn't grouped at any point, and everyone on his team will be dead by the time he hits mid lane. He only commits to the fight, ironically, when all 4 members are dead. Goes for the answering kill, but it was going to be 1 kill at maximum as an answer. And the Chiefs, they never looked back.
No, and just look so strong. I mean, it wasn't just the LeBlanc going off with multiple highlight reel outplays there by Swiffer, but Rady just looks so comfortable in that matchup. And when you take a consistent player like Rady and a playmaker like Swiffer and just give them games like Swiper, actually had a fairly underwhelming Kennen game of all things for someone that's played a lot of Kennen. And Avant still looking to struggle, but Chiefs way on top now.
I guess the issue for Avant is they chose to counterpick the mid lane. You know, they had to accept the bad bottom lane matchup. It probably went a little bit worse than they expected, but that was just because Chiefs were able to really assert dominance in that lane. But they opted into the Vladimir versus LeBlanc. That was the counterpick they got, and it looked like a counterpick the other way.
Yeah, it did indeed there. So Kenzie struggling a bit, but we'll return with our next matchup. The boys are back now. Rich Gang will be taking on Sudden Fear after this quick break.